and welcome to What Are You Saying? #Ways, where we talk about topics in the news. My name is Uti Elu, and today I'm joined by the wonderful, beautiful anchors, Diola and Chinelo. Who we haven't been on set together
actually
this year, right?
This year, no, we haven't.
Wow. And it's March, like Q1 is almost over.
3 months. Hi.
Good to see
Hi,
you.
Diola.
How's
Same
it been?
here.
Good.
Very well.
How's your
Looking
day?
good in blue.
Thank you. Today was, I think I got dressed in the dark this morning, but I'm thankful that it still turned out all right. But yeah, how was your day? How's Lagos traffic treating you?
Horrible.
I know, right?
Exhausting.
It is.
Draining.
We
All the
can't
bad
wait for
words.
Mainland to be open, right?
All the bad words.
Every day I'm just thankful to God that I don't have to encounter that kind of traffic, because I can't even imagine. Traffic stresses me out. It just ruins my day.
Yeah.
So I don't think I would even be able to deal with
And then with the weather.
Yeah, it's not great.
Really?
I think we're all looking forward to, particularly for those people who have to cross the bridge from the mainland to the island, either to or fro, whichever way. There's really, it's harrowing, let me put it that way. But I'm so excited for today's conversation. I cannot wait to get into it. So here's what we found as today's quote. The difference between tax avoidance and tax evasion is the thickness of a prison wall. And that's by Dennis Healy. When I saw this quote, I was like, there's so many other quotes we could have taken today, but I think that this one sort of gives an umbrella effect to the conversation, really, around taxes. But, I mean, I don't want to say we don't pay taxes in Nigeria. We pay tax in unconventional ways.
We have a
in
culture
Nigeria
of not paying taxes, plain and simple. We would rather not pay it.
Yeah, but I think that that's also because, one, we don't see value for money, and then two, I mean, we have a large informal sector. Three, we don't really have that culture. You know, other countries, it's like the minute you get a job, your money is
Straight
growing.
up.
Everything is just digitized. Yeah.
But I think that's one of the things. But I mean, let me not say too much about this. I think we should jump right in. So earlier this week, it was reported that one of two Binance executives being held in Nigeria on suspicion of tax evasion and other offenses, Nadeem Anjawala, had fled from official custody. It's our ladies' night out, and Adiola, Chinelo and I are here to discuss the topic, the escape of the Binance executive director. And when we open our phone lines, we'll love to hear what you have to say. But first, let's take a break for what we found in the news. Please stay with us. With the purpose of acknowledging and celebrating the benefits of science, National Science Appreciation Day is here to pay special attention to the ways that science has benefited human outcomes, unleashed human potential, and transformed the quality of life for so many on the planet. This day was the brainchild of the founder of Science Saves, Todd Stifel, and its purpose is to celebrate scientific achievements, raise awareness for the importance of critical thinking, thank the workers in science and medicine fields, and promote the inclusion of science in public policy throughout the United States and even all over the world. I think science has changed our lives. We tend to say technology, but I mean,
before technology,
there was science, right?
There won't even have been technology without science, to be fair. Science is, let me not say life, but I mean, it is.
If we take more of the sort of biological side and all the medical, you know, it really started, like you said, from sciences before technology sort of joined the picture. So it's been, would I say, it's a good day to acknowledge. I think also the fact that the focus on, okay, it used to be STEM, now it's STEAM. So making sure that kids have good foundations, because we all understand the benefits of understanding the benefits of science. So who should I start from? Okay, let's start from Chinelo. What did you find for us in the news?
Okay, so in the news today, I mean, when I saw this story this morning, because unfortunately the platform where I picked it from, you know how they put out very ridiculous headlines, so it was quite scary. I had to now read through. I'm like, oh, okay. I mean, it still doesn't feel good, but yeah. So Pelumi Nubi is a content creator who decided to drive from London to Lagos, and then she encountered an accident, a fatal, ghastly accident, actually, where she had to be, rushed into the ambulance and all of that. But thankfully, she's still alive. What I don't now know is if she will be able to continue her journey. And someone said something very funny to me. It was when she got to Africa, she started encountering all these problems.
I was going to say that what country did the...
Yeah, I mean, she didn't state what country it was, but then it was also stated that when she actually started encountering a lot of problems when she got to Africa. So I think she got to Zimbabwe or something. And there the officials waylaid her and, collected a lot of money from her. And she was like, she went through the whole of Europe and then she didn't encounter any of these problems. It was just, I mean, everybody knew what she was going for. She had all the documents that she needed to have. They would just cross-check and then let her go cross to the next border. But then it's been one thing or the other since she got to Africa. Yeah. But then I'm just hoping that she comes out of this safe, and hopefully she's also able to complete, because I was actually looking forward to her completing this trip coming to Lagos. But yeah, thankfully she's fine.
That's a sad one.
Well, we wish her
Speedy
recovery, and we hope that, yes, she can continue the trip. And I guess now, what would that be? Would she be able to, if she's trying to set the record or something, would she be able to continue or have to start again?
Well, it depends on the grade of her injuries, yeah.
Okay. Well, we wish her all the very best and hope she gets well soon. Diola, what did you find for us?
Okay, so this story piqued my interest because, well, I'm an advocate for cyber safety. And, of course, there's always been arguments around, children being on social media. So this one caught my attention. It says U.S. states bans children under 14 from having social media accounts. And this was from the Florida State Governor, Ron DeSantis. And he said that, well, now, according to this report, those who are 14 or 15 will need a parent's consent before they join a platform. The bill HB3 also directs social media companies to delete the existing accounts of those who are under 14. Companies that fail to do so could be sued on behalf of the child who creates an account on the platform. The minor will be awarded $10,000 in damages, and companies found in violation of the law would also be liable for $50,000 per violation. Now, his argument was that ultimately, there's just a lot of, help in, there's just a lot going into helping parents navigate parenting, and then all the ills happening around cyber, space, social media, because there's been a whole lot of reported cases on, kidnapping, on bullying, on, all that. And sometimes these kids are really, I mean, not just looking at the age, but they're really just kids, naive and all that. So it's just to, mitigate against all these social ills. Personally, I think, I don't know, I have mixed feelings about it, but I mean, there just has to be some, I feel like the social
checks
media,
and balances.
I feel
without
like
actually hampering on people's rights.
like there's just so much, it's like a free fall on social media, anything just happens and all that. So there should be some sanity there. So, and some, I mean, it's recorded that some other states in the US are adopting this stance as well. So, I mean, personally, I will keep up with this story because I want to see how far,
it pans out, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. So mine is, my headline says, law enforcement agencies investigating $2.4 billion, with a B, $1 billion invalid FX transactions. And that's by the CBN Governor, Mr. Yemi Cardoso. It says that at the MPC meeting, which was held earlier today, the 294th session, he says that the investigation targets a slew of transactions that failed to meet the regulatory criteria set by the CBN for foreign exchange allocations. He declared, he detailed that there were several anomalies, including allocations of millions of dollars in FX to requests that were never made and allocations provided without corresponding Naira support. He pointed out the lack of legality and satisfactory documentation in these transactions. Anything that involves FX right now, like, even if you're scrolling, you stop. Like, I need to read this.
Because it's affecting everything.
Never has the life of 200 million people be tied to a currency that is not their own.
Honestly.
Like, it really, every time I think about the current situation, it doesn't matter your kid in life. Even my son, who is 8, is now asking me, Mommy, how much is dollar? And I mean, the first time he asked me, my head whipped around and I was like, how could you possibly, what could you possibly be talking about with your friends, your teachers? How did dollar come into this conversation? But that is how widespread the impact is right now, right? It is touching the lives of every single Nigerian. So when we see these things, you know, for me, it just resonates. There's a lot of questions. In fact, this particular story for me is a whole show and a whole conversation in and of itself, because so many gaps from what I could read. I mean, our viewers can go and read the full story, but it just lists a whole list of problems, given that access to FX is, I mean, the process is heavily regulated, documented. There are checks and balances. So when you hear this, it's just, yeah, it doesn't even make sense.
Like you said.
It just doesn't make sense at all. But I think we can, well, let's take a quick break and we will jump into the conversation. Please stay with us. Popular cryptocurrency platform Binance is the target of a criminal investigation by the federal government for tax evasion and money laundering. The federal government charged Binance with in a lawsuit with breaking national tax laws and neglecting to register the FIRS for tax purposes. As required by Section 40 of the Federal Inland Revenue Service Establishment Act of 2007 as modified, Binance is accused of failing to collect and return certain categories of taxes to the Federation. The British citizen, who is also Kenyan, is thought to have taken a Middle Eastern airline out of Abuja, even though Mr. Anjarwalla entered Nigeria on his British passport that is currently in the possession of the Nigerian authorities. It is still unknown how he was able to board a foreign flight. However, Zakari Mijinyawa, the head of office of the National Security Advisor's Strategic Communication, has revealed that Anjarwalla left Nigeria using a smuggled international passport, and they're currently working with Interpol to rearrest him. So tonight we're discussing the escape of the Binance Executive Director. Please let's hear what you have to say. Remember, you can join the conversation. Send us an SMS or WhatsApp to 0818 038 4663. I almost want to start out with dun dun dun.
The Great Escape.
Like, you know, really the Great Escape.
Like a movie.
Like this reads, writes, watches like a Hollywood movie.
All those money heist kind of things.
I mean, this is even, like, this has gone beyond Nollywood. This is real Hollywood epic, because To hear this story, I think I saw it was a few days ago. Was it yesterday morning? Yeah, I saw it and I thought, in fact, I think I posted it on the group first thing in the morning because I saw it and it just sounded so incredulous. I mean, when you then hear the, when you hear the actual details, you're a little bit confused. Like, what did I just read? Really? Then you almost have a, well, it's Nigeria, so anything is possible, right? But it is a bit sad. But I think that before we even dive into the escape, it'll be good to set the scene in terms of, okay, so Binance is trading in Nigeria, I believe, as Binance Nigeria Limited, and they're a cryptocurrency exchange. So you can buy, you can sell, you can trade, all of those things, right? For the people that are Bitcoin, no, excuse me, crypto aficionados, which I keep telling myself that I should learn, because when I see these stories where people lose a hard drive and there's 1.5 billion pounds worth of crypto or the hard drive that went in the bin, I'm like, Uti, this is something you need to get into. You know, so today it's to crypto or not to crypto. I think that's the question, right? Are you constantly posting about crypto? And it just seems like, you know, whether it's Bitcoin or, you know, it seems like it has become its own, what's the word now? It's not money. What's it? Tender. Yeah, whether legal or not, but it's tender of some sort, right? So this company that, in fact, the first time I really paid attention, I think was sometime in early March, where a story went round, and I think the CBN governor had said that 26 billion, again, billion with a B, not to be mistaken with his junior brother million, right? Billion with a B had left Nigeria.
And not in Naira.
Yes, sorry, $26 billion. Thank you. Had left Nigeria via this company. So in different transactions. And here's the icing on the cake. It's untraceable. There are so many things that run through you when you hear something like that. You know, given that this is a nation where termites was in, if it was a company that was Nigerian owned or originated in Nigeria, we'll tell them their village people are after them. Because they've paid $4.3 billion in the US. And I think there we have, they call it horrendous crimes, right? So they've paid that one. Now, Nigeria is looking for $26 billion from them. So those ones are the ones that we don't know how whether it came, it left, whatever they were doing in terms of transactions. But then when you bring it home to Nigeria, Nigeria has said, you are now breaking our laws because the FIRS has said you have failed to charge VAT, you have failed to declare company income tax, failed to file returns, and then you are helping your customers also evade tax. So it's just a whole umbrella of issues that Binance is facing. So this is what led to the arrest of the director in February. So, yeah, we've gotten to where the story made sense still. Now, who would like to take us forward in how he was held post-detainment and how he escaped?
Well, I think my own first question is it more like an actual escape or a facilitated?
No, first tell us how it happened before we now even ask the questions.
He went to mosque. Abi.
Don't say it like that.
Okay. he was detained in a guest house.
Very good.
With phone privileges.
Absolutely.
And this is someone under investigation for clearly flouting the laws of a sovereign nation like Nigeria. And I would assume that for them to trade on this level in Nigeria, they would have gone through company registration, all that limited liability and all that. So the laws are clear. I mean, if you operate a business in Nigeria, the laws are clear. So, I mean, for one reason or the other, I imagine that that's why he must have been accorded, because he's a foreigner, he must have been accorded that level
perhaps
of,
we're not
perhaps, sure. Exactly, it's a speculation. You know, okay, you know what, pending the time that we're able to sort this out, we still, you know how you watch a movie and they'll say, we still have more questions, don't leave the country, you know, and then they'll get your passport.
And they collected his passport,
exactly.
Apparently.
So you know, even in Nigeria, you know, when you have a case with police, they'll tell you, be around because we can call you anytime, summon you, you know. So that's the idea. And so I'm asking myself as a Nigerian that, okay, you have the comfort of a guest house. You're probably having conversations with the appropriate agencies. And then the story went on to say that he had phone privileges, so he was allowed to make calls or receive calls, right? And then he went on to say that he was given the opportunity to go to the mosque to do a Friday Jumat service. And then that's when he went crazy. So from that Jumat service, what happened? He became untraceable, like the untraceable 20, like the untraceable 26 billion, you know, dollars. And for me, that raises a lot of questions, because in Nigeria, we have so many agencies. When things like this happen, you start hearing acronyms, DSS, this, that. So I do not, for any reason, believe that he would, let me not say I do not for any reason believe. Let me say that now let's play scenarios, right? He's going to have a team that watches him, right? So a whole team goes with him. First of all, there's a question. Why would you have phones? Why would you have phone privileges? Why would you even be allowed? Because, I mean, anything can happen. This is a real criminal case. It's not so much as, I mean, if you do fraud, not fraud, if you do tax evasion or tax, I mean, these are criminal offenses in Nigeria and all that. So it's a real criminal case. Maybe they've not gotten to that point whether they're going to charge him or not. But I mean, it should ideally, the ideal thing is, I mean, they curtail the amount of people he has access to. Okay, so when he got to the mosque, what happened? Was it that he wasn't being watched? I mean, I have a lot of questions, and I'm asking myself, at what, I mean, okay, so this happened on a Friday, like, I mean, all the things the media has been putting out there, and then we didn't get to know about this until Monday. So, and then the next thing we heard was he used a passport. So, again, if people like us on this end know that we are privy to the information that he has a dual citizenship, so you would expect that if you're in the intelligence community, you would know that, right? I mean, if an average journalist can get this information,
how much more?
How much more someone in the intelligence community? So is it that they did not ask? That's one question, under the assumption that he probably and then they are saying that, okay, so he's in the Middle East. Again, questions. Was he on a no-fly?
No, we don't know where he went at the moment, but they said he went on a Middle Eastern airline. But we assume that if you know it's the airline, then potentially he's on a manifest somewhere. So I think that even then sort of says there are multiple scenarios there. Was he able to get hold of his second passport and use that?
How did he get to the airport?
Could it be something more sinister where there was forgery, but then maybe I mean, you can't change your face, but, you know, maybe he had some other way. So I think that the interesting thing of this conversation really is that it raises so many questions. So many gaps.
Questions.
Because when you even sort of talked about the fact that he escaped from a mosque, my first question was, how long is Jumat, right? So even if it's, let's even say worst case scenario, it's 2 hours, right? You have to, if he said he was going to pray, was someone not watching him the whole time? Were you standing outside the mosque, or was somebody with him? So at what point did we notice that he had gone missing from the mosque? At the time that he then went missing, what did we do? Who did we notify? Because again, let's even take it the way we see our American movies. Let's not even talk about, you know, who was notified, right? If someone is going to be a flight risk, it's either you're leaving by road, you're leaving, I mean, Abuja is landlocked, so you can't say you're leaving by sea, right? Or you're leaving by air. So it stands to reason that we're able to communicate to those exit points, and we're able to say, you know what, we're looking for this person. I mean, we all have smart devices now, so it's not that hard to get his picture out and his details, right? So how did it then happen that this person, I mean, from what we've been told so far, we were not told that it was a private jet. It's been alluded that it's a commercial airline. So the time it takes to check in, you go through the check-in desk, you do the baggage, you do the passport immigration check, you do the health check, or I think they still do that, or that you go through, and then you do the whole scanning. NDLEA asks you if you have money. You do all of those things. Where are you going? He made it through all of that. Then he waited. They boarded. They called for boarding. He got to the gate. Somebody checked his passport against his boarding pass. They checked his hand luggage, or if he didn't have, before he finally made it onto the plane. Are we saying that in the time it took us to notice and the time he took to pass through, Nigerian airport is one of the things I dread. This thing I've said so easily. It can take...
It's very draining.
Do you get what I mean? So how is it possible then that he got through the airport and none of the logical, whether it's immigration, whether it's airport security, because last I checked, there's only one international airport in Abuja. So how is it possible? All of these agencies have representation at the airport. So even if I can't make it there from the mosque, there is somebody that I can reach out to. So the questions abound.
They abound.
Okay, now my first question is this. Isn't there, or rather, what's the procedure when you arrest someone in this kind of situation, right? Because I want to believe that, now, like you rightly said, speaking from, in this case, I'll call myself a layman, a layman's point of view. I want to believe that if I'm going to go after a criminal and I arrest the person, for this type of crimes that they have stated, by the way, saying that he has, they have a 4-count charge against him, tax laws and blah, 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 blah. All of these things, you're alleging that he's financing terrorism, and these are very strong charges. If I'm arresting such persons, first of all, I'm going to take your personal devices away from you. Okay, fine, you need to communicate with family or whoever it is you need to communicate with. What happened to tracking those calls? What happened to tracking messages or whatever form of communication, whatever device it is or platform it is using to communicate with people? Because let's even now assume, because there's also the part of saying that, you know what, maybe some law enforcement agencies have been bribed in this case, but let's even now keep that apart and say that, okay, he planned this by himself, right? Because the other guy that was in, I think Techman Kiani or something like that, he's still in custody as we speak. He did all of that. So are they telling me that they can't trace any calls, they can't trace any messages, they can't do any of that? Okay, now Uti, you mentioned, let's assume 2 hours at the mosque, 1 hour to the airport, and I'm sure that we know how flights work now. It's not like they're waiting for you to say, okay, when you get here, then we're going to take off. There was a time for the flights, right? So let's assume it was 10:30 p.m. So between whatever time it was, couldn't anything have been done about it? Then, okay, you now came and then figured that, okay, he was on a middle distance, whatever. Or you even knew in the first place that he has dual citizenship. You picked his British passport. Okay, nobody asked questions about the Kenyan passport, I assume, which is why he was still
well, he could have also claimed that he didn't come in with it, so he only came in with his British passport. It's possible.
Okay, and then
because if he wasn't planning to, so I'm playing devil's advocate. So if he wasn't planning to go to Kenya, say his Nigerian visa was on his British passport, he could have come in and let's just say that they arrested him and he said, well, I didn't come with my Kenyan passport. But I would expect that you would put that information on a watch list to say, I've collected your British passport, but this person also has
a Kenyan passport,
right? So the questions around no-fly list and whether, how do we flag people when they're arrested? Because we hear this all the time when influential Nigerians are arrested and it says their passport, particularly politicians and people like that. We hear that your passport has been collected. So what is the process around that? Because the reason why we ask all these questions really is we like to look at it from a balanced perspective. Let's not just cry foul and say, oh, they bribed somebody, right? It's very possible because I think is it the person that's watching him or who's responsible has now been arrested, right? It's possible that with having a phone, you could have planned this. I think it was early last week, a couple of police officers were shot at in America where a prisoner had injured himself to the extent where he had to be taken to the hospital. And when they were trying to take him back, his friend came and shot up the joint and they ran away. He had been talking to him on the phone. They had planned it together. So it's possible that whatever phone privileges he had, he could have planned this outside of, Nigerians were conditioned to think bribery because that's more common. So it's possible that he planned this outside of it. However unlikely it may seem for all the various factors that we have also mentioned, because there are too many gaps, too many questions where it's so difficult for us to believe that somebody didn't look away, right? So this person has been arrested now, so it'll be interesting to see where that pans out. But they've also now announced that this has now become an international manhunt. So they're working with Interpol, and I guess for a live investigation, perhaps there's some things they're not releasing to the media yet. But at the very least, we should know if this person escaped on Friday, would assume that Jumat is in the afternoon.
Yeah.
So we would assume that he left Nigeria in the afternoon. So most of the Middle Eastern airlines, I think they're I think maybe 8 hours away. Yeah. I'm not too sure. But so that means that at some point between Friday and Saturday, we should have at least known his first location, because it gets harder the longer you go. He could have hopped from here to here to here.
Yeah.
So now it's a case of an international manhunt, right? Now, we were talking about extradition, because it's one thing to find him. It's another thing to get him back to Nigeria, because if he happens to have flown to a country where their extradition laws are very, very tight, I don't believe in anything that I read, that I heard that he's been charged with something. I think they were detained. I'm not sure, because I think some people were even questioning the legality of the...
I think on the 4th of April or something.
There you go, right? So technically, he's evaded arrest, right? So what does that look like when I'm not talking about extradition, right? That process is already one that is convoluted when the person has already been charged. Look at how long Julian Assange was holed up in the embassy. In fact, is he still there? I think he's still there. In the embassy in the UK. So these things can be really, really lengthy in their process. I believe the other person, because 2 people were arrested and the other person is still in custody. So I guess that process of arraignment and whatever charges can still proceed for the one person that is here. And definitely, of course, the investigation around the tax evasion and all those various issues are still ongoing. So it's the Binance, really it's a saga. The Binance saga is still unfolding. So we are at part 1. No, this is part 2 actually. Part 1 was the 26 billion. And then part 2 is tax evasion, and now, in fact, this is part 3, tax evasion, then the escape, the great escape, and then we see what comes from there. But I think that if we take Binance out of it, all of these questions that we've raised, these are the real core issues for us as Nigerians, right? It is not this director who is the direct... would I say he's the representative of the company, but the company is an entity. So Binance has broken the law, not necessarily him, at least until he took flight, right? So when we want to start to break down, we always talk about corruption, we talk about the issues in governance, we talk about the failures of processes, because it's never a lack of whether we have policies, but the processes that are in place and the structures put around enforcement. So now we are here. Jola, you were saying about how we probably will not hear about this story in a few days, right? But I think that, in fact, we've set the scene really, really well. So I think we should take a break, and when we come back, we'll open our phone lines so that we can also hear what our viewers think about this. Please stay with us.
Hello guys, my name is Oni Erimil, also known as the baddest on the show. My hobbies are creating content, modeling, influencing, shopping, cooking, and many more. But anyways, this is a PSA, so tune in every Monday to Friday to watch Ray's Breakfast, where we spill the tea, spit insightful facts, and shake the table.
If you just tuned in, it's our Ladies' Night Out, and we are discussing the escape of the Binance Executive Director. should I call it the Binance saga? That's what we should actually call it. We'd still love to hear what you have to say. Remember, you can send us an SMS or WhatsApp to 0818-038-4663. Our phone lines are also now open, so you can call us on 0702 500 7749. Please remember to turn down the volume of your TV set so we can have a great conversation and hear what you have to say. So we were talking. You were going to build on.
I was thinking, while we went on a break that before I had mentioned that I don't know if we call this well, like you also inferred a well-planned escape or maybe like a facilitated departure. And I know that in situations like this, there are always back channels, where, again, I don't know, but I'm thinking that maybe the case scenario is that, just so that, of course, there's been a lot of noise around Binance and all that, but just so that they de-escalate the issue, somebody just, or people within an agency or at government level or wherever, corporates, whatever, they sit down and they say, okay, you know what, you want to fine us, okay, we're going to do this XYZ, but, you need to make this happen and all that. Because Binance is not a small company. It's not just a business name. It's a big company, and what they're trading in billions.
I can't even imagine what in people who are active users of that platform, how much they must be feeling right now. Because I think the platform has been deactivated.
Yeah,
access. So if you've got crypto sitting, what does it even mean?
That's something else we have to talk about.
Yeah,
the impact
we have to get
of
a
Binance.
crypto expert to come and talk about that.
Exactly. And these are some people's livelihoods. The implication of this whole Binance Gates, let me put it like Binance Gates.
I love it.
is almost so messy. And again, like we know about Nigeria, sometimes these things take forever, so how do they, I'm very interested in how they would, sort out people trading on their platforms. Are they going to just pay? But again, before I come to that, let's even look at this issue around the fact that it almost feels like Binance is in, they are flouting laws. Because they just
not
paid.
Almost. They did.
Exactly.
They did.
So,
and obviously there's precedence if they've paid $4.3 billion
in some country.
Well, so I think that the bit around the taxes is clear because Nigeria has had a colorful history with crypto, particularly with the CBN. There's been, there's largely, at one point, there were repercussions if you were identified to be trading with crypto. Your bank account, I think, could be shut down.
Yeah.
And then there is, I think they tried to tax it at some point.
Yeah, in 2023.
So we've literally can see that as a country, we're trying to get to grips with a platform that lots and lots of Nigerians are using. Because, $26 billion is a staggering amount of money. Particularly when everybody is watching every single dollar now. Is it 1.2? Is it 1.8? I've seen all sorts on X today of people saying, oh, I bought dollar at 1.8, now it's 1.2. And then I asked the people in the know, I'm like, please, why is it 1.2? Do we even know? So this is a very, very sensitive area, right? But I think that the Binance side of it is even a little more straightforward because at least there's still one person in custody. Except the entity can still be charged. That process can still go on. But for immigration services, for law enforcement, for all the other agencies that are involved in this process end to end, there needs to be a very clear investigation. And this is a story that I think that even I am going to pay close attention to because sometimes I think stories just drop out of the media and nobody sort of really follows what's happening and we don't get to some fruition. But it is important to sort of say right now that this is an embarrassment for Nigeria. So it is in our best interest to ensure that this story is put to bed quickly. Even if we can announce that, fine, we haven't caught him, but we know he's in country ABC. Because this is the point where you now apply pressure, right? You have to make him feel uncomfortable where he is. That's the nature of a manhunt, right? Because if we are not able to show that we can actually successfully apprehend this person, it just makes the whole thing, it takes a whole new level.
Worse.
Yeah.
You know? So for me, that's really where that challenge lies, because you've only arrested one person, but who is walking through the flow of things as they occurred? Some places, it's not culpability. Maybe somebody was meant to make a phone call. Somebody was meant to flag something in some way. It didn't happen. But there are just so many, as an unending list of questions. Let's put it that way.
Sorry to cut you. I also want to touch on the fact that it is possible that this opens, or this reflects the gap, like information sharing within our own systems, you know, and what we're doing. I mean, case in point, NIN, BVN, and a whole lot of other things. So it just makes you wonder, how do interagencies, how do they cooperate if there is no free flow of information? Because, I mean, I would think that you have shared database, you are able to have information real time, because we can tell that this is one lapse. If is this man, like we all saw, he was able to travel. Like you rightly said, someone somewhere probably didn't pass information on time, or didn't do this, or guess what? They don't even know that there's such a thing that's even happening. And then at the end of the day, I mean, if we say let's dig into it, and then we discover that, well, the real problem is even now information, you know, no information in real time, then that's a major problem.
Because, I mean, the entire weekend, actually, from Friday the story broke on Monday morning. And when you are searching and conducting a manhunt, the media is your quickest and fastest ally to say, look, we can get the name out, we can get the picture out, we can get people looking. So, and you know, this is the sad part, right? As much as a lot of the time to take a balanced view, when you hear things like this, you start to ask yourself genuinely, was it an actual mistake? Was it an actual gap? Or was it deliberate? And there's just such a deep rabbit hole that you can go through with that kind of thing, because we don't want to echo the fact that, and this is like putting some of those narratives about Nigeria that we would rather not put out there. It's like putting it on display for the whole world. This is a company that is prominently experiencing its issues. You know, when we're talking about untraceable finance, we're talking about financing terrorism, we're talking about money laundering. These are things that we're struggling with as a country, as a region. I mean, the world at large, in fact.
True.
So to then find that those kinds of, again, I say $26 billion, yes, has gone through, whether this is now a viable point. I mean, you just mentioned kidnapping. We have a kidnapping problem in Nigeria. So it just shows that there's so many gaps. And does that mean that travel, safety, security, should I not feel safe now when I'm going through that process? Because I feel like if somebody can circumvent a wanted person through, then isn't it easy to get somebody in that has other nefarious, we talk about porosity in our airports and our borders. We talk about those things. So it just gives you, that's why I said that there's so many rabbit holes we can go down in this story, and everywhere I'm just like, okay.
I've seen some comments, and then I'm just laughing. No comments, like I'm talking about from the posts when this news came out, you know. And I remember one particularly where someone said, and I quote, because that's what the person said. He said, "Don't press BTC for chief investigators," and that was just so funny to me, because I'm like, imagine there are just too many questions. Personally, right, Uti, I don't believe that this was just deliberate. I honestly don't believe, because in as much as we like to say, oh, Nigeria is, like you said, porosity in our borders and all of that, I don't think that people are that daft. You know, that someone like that, more so he's not. If he was black, I would have said, chances that he would have passed.
Blend in. Yes.
He's not
very valid
black.
Point.
So we know how these things work, right? Anytime you see a Caucasian or so, or
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
someone of a different skin color at the airport, everybody's eyes are always
Yeah.
okay. More so, someone in this kind of situation, I genuinely do not believe that.
It's tough to, like, that's why I said that it is tough to believe. It's tough to believe that someone didn't look away, and I'm hoping that the investigation is able to find those people. Our law enforcement agencies, contrary to what a lot of people believe, they are very skilled
They
when
are.
they are sufficiently motivated.
Yes.
They are, actually.
Right?
They are.
So the fact that this happened, it is, as much as I always, you know, want to be balanced and positive, it's hard for even me to say
Too rational.
something smells fishy.
Of course,
I mean,
it's like hearing that Hush Puppy escaped from prison tomorrow. I mean, come on.
Come on.
you know, it is difficult to see. So this story, I just hope, and I really want to see where this is going to go. I mean, just looking on social media today, looking at all the various media outlets, this story is everywhere. And
Everywhere.
everybody's
talking about it.
hungry for information to understand the how, to understand the why. You know, it really is. So if they are finding this company 4.3 billion, I almost want to say, please, you know, our judiciary, our court cases take a long time. Please, before the company will fold up and declare bankruptcy, please hurry up and collect our.
We need it.
We need all the effects we can get right now, you know. So this doesn't need to be a prolonged, protracted case, because I think these are clearly two separate cases now that need to be investigated and followed through. So we are pleading with our judiciary to please help us, both the LEAs and judiciary, to get this case, you know, going forward quickly, so that we need to help Nigerians believe a bit more in the system. Sure. And this is a story that people will watch closely, because Nigerians' money is involved.
Yes.
And right now, anything that has to do with money.
Too many things, too many companies have come and gone, and Nigerians have suffered for it. You know, too many. So if this goes the same way, honestly, I'm not sure that there's anything protecting Nigeria in terms of. I mean, honestly,
well, that's true. We're talking about consumer protection the other day.
Too many things. Too many.
But then could it also be that we have people who are in power, so to speak, who have stakes in Binance and are trying to probably protect?
You are digging another hole.
Yes.
That's a rabbit hole.
Yes, because we can't rule that out.
True.
That's very possible.
True.
Well, so I think that is publicly available information, right? CAC information is publicly available. So that one is easily verified. But then there's the name you see, and then there's the name behind it. But that's not a trough I want to run. I want to run down right now.
Okay, so since this whole Binance gate, has the Binance...
Do any of you trade in crypto?
No.
I have.
Oh, you have?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
I
And
don't even.
you know,
like, it's one thing that
I just told myself, no, this
I
thing
don't
is
even
not
have a
for.
clue.
Because at the point in time, you know, like, was it last year or 2 years ago when everything went crazy,
Yeah, it was
and
2
people,
years ago.
like,
It was 2 years ago.
no.
But before then, right? Because so for me, when that happened, I think that's when I stopped, right? And it was my brother that introduced me to this thing. Now, the thing is, and I've always used Binance, right? And the way it works, you have like different kinds of cryptocurrencies, different kind of digital currencies, let me call it that. It's actually very lucrative, to be very honest, especially now that we have this
Which
whole...
is why plenty Nigerians.
Yeah, well, that's just, I mean, what do we live for? The money now. That's why, you know, but you see, when people now come out to say, oh, this happened, that happened, like, as we know in Nigeria, they always find a means. Okay, let me not say Nigeria, because this also happened in the US. Binance was also accused of financing terrorism and money laundering as well, and they were also fined 4.3 billion, right? Let me say human beings, let me not say just Nigerians now. They always find, the idea itself is not bad. But then because people will just always find a way to, that's snake or serpent that always lead her through, will now come and make it look like a very terrible, and then that's what, it's very unfortunate. And that's what's happened to them now, because I also think that apart from that happening to them, they also facilitated it, because for whatever reason, maybe they have also indulged these people, right? So now that's why they are facing all of these problems. But I mean, that said, the whole idea of cryptocurrency, or, you know, trading digital currencies, is generally not a bad idea.
Well, the truth is, I think that digital, money is, if you look at it holistically, as good as it is, in terms of the fact that we're evolving, technology, is here and all that, is also a major threat to security globally. That's the truth. Because it's untraceable. You get on the internet in cyberspace, you are lost. If you don't want to be found, you won't be found.
Yeah, so I think that it has immense benefits, as with anything, can also be used in the negative. So, even the CBN tried to float the e-Naira, I don't know if I would say successfully, unsuccessfully, but, they tried anyway. And we haven't cracked it yet, but it doesn't mean that it's not the way of the future. Because the more we go digital, the more we see, wallets for me seem like such an old thing, but we see now the resurgence of wallets. We see, things like embedded finance. So it's unavoidable is what I want to say, right? I think it's something that is here to stay, and then we need to understand how to build frameworks and governance around it, and, build ethics into its use without people also feeling like you are over-regulating me, right? So we do have to have those kind of protections in place. But I don't think that, I think we've gone way past whether or not digital currencies will work or not. But there's obviously still a lot of gaps that need to be closed. And I think that when you are dealing with something that has different levels of penetration in different countries, in different parts of the world, right? It's just, if you think about how we went from trade by barter to money to, the evolution of where we are today and what globalization means for that whole system, it shows that it's going to be difficult, because I can protect one country. Another country is a gap. I can move there because digital is available everywhere, right? So these things really now become real challenges, and we are entering so many new territories, right, that policies are struggling to keep up. Industries are struggling to keep up, really. So as technology evolves, we have to try and evolve just as fast. But we have raised so many questions today about this story. We have raised so many key elements that we would like to hopefully see start to get some answers to.
To the end of the app. Join me on Raise Breakfast, where we give a voice to the youth to speak about topical and societal issues as it affects Nigeria, Africa, and the world at large. Until I come to your screen. See you soon.
Thank you for staying with us. We've been discussing the escape of the Binance Executive Director. We've had a fantastic conversation, and we certainly are looking forward to how the story progresses and finding out more about the details of the escape itself and what happens next. We've had a very, it seems like the time has just flown by, ladies. We knew we were going to enjoy this conversation. I think we've had so much fun. So thank you for joining me today. Before we go, do ensure you follow us on Instagram at Ways Show Africa and official Upgrade TV. You can interact with us further, drop a comment, and most importantly, follow all our social media engagements. Remember to like, share, comment, and invite your friends and family to watch. Don't watch Ways alone. If you've missed today's quote, here it is again. The difference between tax avoidance and tax evasion is the thickness of a prison wall, and that's by Dennis Healy. So we'll see you tomorrow again at 8 p.m. as we bring another great conversation to your screens. Bye-bye.